Testosterone was walking down the street at a brisk pace because Tess did practically everything at a brisk pace. Walking slowly was for people who had either already achieved their goals or had no idea what their goals were. Tess had goals. Tess had several. Some were written down, some were still being invented, and some, if Tess was being honest, were simply things Tess had seen other hormones doing and thought, I could probably do that. Tess was competitive. Tess was ambitious. Tess was brave. Tess was also, although Tess would rather have been hit by a bus than admit it, lonely. Not constantly, just sometimes. Mostly at night. And occasionally on Sunday afternoons. Especially Sunday afternoons.
Tess had plenty of friends. There was Trevor Tosterone, Terry Tosterone, Tom Tosterone, and approximately 17 other Tosterones whose names Tess kept forgetting. They were great company. They went to the gym together. They argued about football. They competed over absolutely everything. Who could lift the most? Who could run the fastest? Who could find the best parking space? Who had the biggest house? Who could eat the hottest curry without drinking water? The trouble was, whenever Tess got too close to another Tosterone, something strange happened. Boing! They bounced off each other. Not metaphorically, literally. Testosterone, being testosterone, was extremely good at pushing. It was considerably less good at being pushed back. Across the street, another hormone was walking carefully along the pavement. Her name was Jess Trojan. Jess was not walking quickly. Jess did not believe in walking quickly, unless there was an excellent reason. There was no excellent reason. There was a perfectly good pavement. The pavement was dry. There were no predators. There was no fire. Therefore, there was no reason whatsoever to hurry. Jess was cautious, very cautious. Some people called Jess timid. Jess preferred appropriately risk-aware. Jess had friends too. Jill Trojan, Jenny Trojan, Janet Trojan, and several hundred others. They were lovely. They talked, they shared resources, they looked after one another. They cooperated. They were very good at cooperating. The trouble was that when Jess got too close to another Trojan, something strange happened. Boing! They bounced. Jess could push, but she didn't particularly want to. The other Jess didn't want to either. And so there was a great deal of cautious hovering, followed by a gentle, polite collision, and then an immediate retreat. Jess sometimes wondered if this was why she was lonely. Then she would decide that thinking about it was probably too risky and return her attention to what was happening inside. Because Jess had an enormous responsibility. Jess carried the seeds. Not metaphorical seeds, actual seeds. The precious little beginnings from which new hormones could eventually grow. Every seed mattered. Every single one. Jess knew this. Jess thought about it constantly. Was there enough food? Enough energy? Enough shelter? Was everything warm enough? Safe enough? Healthy enough? Was anything threatening the seeds? Was anything threatening Jess? Jess's entire existence was organised around the simple principle: keep everybody alive. Tess, meanwhile, was looking outward. What was happening over there? What could be conquered? What could be built? What could be discovered? What opportunity was being missed? What idiot had parked in Tess's parking space? Tess was always moving towards something. Jess was always protecting something. And neither understood the other. Until the day they bumped into each other. Literally. Tess came around the corner at speed. Jess was approaching the same corner cautiously. They collided. Boing! Tess flew backwards. Jess stumbled 3 steps and immediately checked her internal seed storage. "Are you all right?" Tess asked. Jess ignored her. One moment. She closed her eyes. She checked. Everything was fine. The seeds were fine. Jess opened her eyes. "I'm fine." Good. Tess dusted herself off. That was interesting. No, it wasn't. It was a collision. Exactly. Collisions are interesting. Collisions are dangerous. Only if you hit something. We hit each other. Fair point. They stood there awkwardly. Tess looked at Jess. Jess looked at Tess. Then they both looked away. Tess had never met anything quite like Jess. Jess had never met anything quite like Tess. "You always walk that slowly?" Tess asked. "Do you always walk that fast?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I'm going somewhere." "So am I." "Where?" Jess paused. "Safely." Tess laughed. Jess didn't. "You think that's funny?" "A little." "I don't." "Sorry." Another silence. Then Tess noticed something. "What's that?" "What?" "Inside you." Jess froze. "Nothing." "That's definitely something." "It is none of your business." Tess frowned. "I'm just curious." Curiosity is often the beginning of trouble. Trouble is often the beginning of adventure. Adventure is often the beginning of death. Tess considered this. "You're remarkably cheerful." "And you're remarkably exhausting." For some reason, they both smiled. And that was the beginning. They started meeting regularly. At first, they stood several feet apart, then a little closer, then closer still. Every time they got too close, there was a little boing. They laughed. Eventually, they stopped trying to get closer physically. Instead, they began talking. Tess discovered that Jess wasn't frightened of the world. Jess simply understood that the world could be dangerous. Jess discovered that Tess wasn't reckless. Tess simply understood that nothing worthwhile happened if nobody ever took a risk. Tess told Jess about the outside world, the places Tess wanted to explore, the things Tess wanted to build, the challenges Tess wanted to overcome. Jess told Tess about the inside world, the tiny seeds, the constant work of keeping everything alive, the delicate balance, the importance of patience. Tess was fascinated. How many seeds? Jess wouldn't say. Why? Security. Right. How much energy do they need? Enough. How much protection? Enough. How much of me do they need? Jess looked at Tess. Almost none. Tess's smile disappeared. What? Only a tiny part. How tiny? Very. Tess stared at the pavement. For the first time in a long time, Tess felt small. All those adventures, all that ambition, all that competition, all that pushing outward. And apparently, Tess's contribution to the most important thing in existence was microscopic. I suppose I'm not very important, Tess said. Jess frowned. That's not what I said. It sounds like what you said. You don't carry the seeds.
No, I do. Yes, but the seeds cannot become what they are supposed to become without you. Tess looked up. Really? Really? How much of me?
Jess held up her fingers. Tiny. Tess sighed. Typical. What? Spend your whole life trying to become important, and it turns out you're basically a condiment. Jess laughed. A proper laugh. Tess smiled. Then Tess asked the question that had been bothering her. So, what do you need me for? Jess thought about it.
To go outside. That's it? No. To take risks. Sometimes. To find resources. Yes. To protect us? Jess nodded. And Jess looked directly at Tess. To remind me that staying alive isn't the same thing as living. Tess went quiet. Nobody had ever said that to her before. Then Tess smiled. And you remind me that living isn't much use if nobody survives.
Jess smiled back. There it was, the answer. They were different, painfully different, infuriatingly different. One looked outward, the other looked inward. One pushed, the other protected. One took risks, the other calculated them. One competed, the other cooperated. But perhaps that was exactly why they needed each other. They weren't supposed to fit by being identical. They were supposed to fit by being complementary. They tried standing closer. Boing! They laughed. They tried again. Boing! Again. Boing! Eventually, Tess said, "We're doing this wrong." Jess nodded. Maybe. Maybe we're not supposed to stop bouncing. No. Maybe we're supposed to bounce in the same direction. Jess considered this. That sounds dangerously optimistic. Come on. Where? Forward. Jess looked nervous. How far? Tess grinned. Just far enough. Jess looked down at the seeds, then back at Tess. All right. And together they went. Tess looked outward. Jess looked inward. Tess found the resources. Jess kept them safe. Tess took the necessary risks. Jess made sure the risks didn't become disasters. Tess pushed the world. Jess protected the future. And somewhere between the two of them, something remarkable happened. The seeds grew. Not because Tess could have done it alone, not because Jess could have done it alone, but because neither of them could. Which Tess decided was actually rather reassuring. Jess agreed. Although she did add one important qualification. Just don't walk so fast. Tess laughed. I'll try. Jess narrowed her eyes. That means no. Probably. Boing. They bounced off each other again. And this time, neither of them was lonely.